We have to leave. Now.
But I'm scared.
I know. But we must go.
Okay.
Stay close.
The wind howled like a lonely spirit across the dusty auction yard, carrying with it the scent of dry earth, worn leather, and forgotten dreams. Beneath the gray morning sky stood a thin orphan girl, no older than 10, her fragile hands trembling as she clutched the torn edges of her faded dress. Her pale blue eyes searched every passing face with a desperate hope that slowly dimmed with each passing moment. The crowd gathered before her, ranchers, traders, families looking for strong hands, but no one looked at her as someone worth choosing. To them, she was simply another burden, another mouth to feed, another shadow in a harsh world. "I don't cause trouble," she whispered, her voice barely louder than the whispering wind. "I can work. I can clean, please." But her words fell like dust at their feet. The auctioneer cleared his throat, his voice sharp and indifferent. "Next," he called, already turning away, ready to dismiss her existence like an unwanted memory. Laughter murmured among the crowd, and some men shook their heads, uninterested. A woman pulled her son closer, whispering something about hardship and responsibility. The girl's small shoulders sank. She had seen this moment before, the rejection, the cold turning of backs, the silent judgment that she was not enough. She had learned early that the world could be merciless, but each rejection still pierced her heart like a blade. Her lips trembled. "Nobody picked me," she murmured, the words heavy with heartbreak. Tears welled in her eyes, but she forced them back, determined not to cry in front of strangers. She had promised herself she would be strong. Yet her knees shook, and fear wrapped around her chest like chains. Just as the auctioneer prepared to move on, a quiet voice rose from the back of the crowd. "Mine." The single word cut through the noise like thunder in the desert. The crowd turned. A lone cowboy stepped forward, his boots pressing firmly into the dust with each measured step. He was tall, broad-shouldered, dressed in a weathered coat that had seen countless storms. His face bore the marks of hardship, a rough beard, tired eyes, and the silent weight of years spent in solitude. Yet there was something gentle in his gaze, something steady and unwavering. He raised his hand again. "I'll take her." A ripple of surprise spread among the onlookers. Some whispered, others laughed in disbelief. The auctioneer blinked, confused. "You sure about that, Mr. Carter? She's small, weak, not much use on a ranch." The cowboy, Carter, didn't hesitate. "She's not a tool," he replied calmly. "She's a child." The girl stared at him, her breath caught somewhere between fear and hope. No one had ever spoken for her like that. No one had ever claimed her as something more than a burden. Carter approached slowly, kneeling before her so his eyes met hers. "What's your name, little one?" She swallowed, her voice shaking. "Emily." "Well, Emily," he said softly, removing his gloves, "you're coming home." Home. The word sounded foreign, almost unreal. Her eyes widened, searching his face for cruelty, for deception, for any sign this was a cruel joke. But all she saw was quiet sincerity, a promise spoken without words. She hesitated only a moment before placing her small trembling hand into his. That simple touch changed everything. The journey to Carter's ranch was long and silent. They rode across vast golden plains where the horizon stretched endlessly, painted with hues of amber and fading sunlight. Emily sat stiffly beside him on the horse, unsure of how to speak, afraid that any mistake might cause him to change his mind. Carter sensed her fear but did not force conversation. He simply rode steadily, offering her his coat when the wind grew cold, sharing water when her lips grew dry. His kindness was not loud or dramatic, it was quiet, patient, and constant. As dusk settled, they reached a modest ranch tucked between rolling hills. It was simple. A wooden house, a red barn, and wide fields waiting patiently beneath the sky. There was no grand estate, no luxury, only peace. Emily hesitated at the gate. You won't send me back?" she asked in a fragile voice. Carter removed his hat, kneeling beside her once more. "I don't take what I don't intend to keep," he said gently. Something inside her shattered. Years of fear, loneliness, and rejection breaking apart like fragile glass. Tears finally spilled down her cheeks. For the first time in her life, someone had chosen her. Days turned into weeks, and the ranch slowly transformed Emily's world. She learned to feed the chickens, gather eggs, and help mend fences. Her hands, once trembling with fear, grew steady with purpose. Her laughter, rare and uncertain at first, began to echo across the fields like music. Carter remained a quiet presence in her life. He was not a man of many words, but his actions spoke volumes. He fixed her a small room, built her a wooden doll when he noticed her staring longingly at a toy in town, and sat beside her during storms when thunder frightened her. One evening, as the sun painted the sky in shades of gold, Emily asked, "Why did you choose me?" Carter looked toward the horizon, his eyes distant. "Years ago," he said slowly, "I lost my family. Since then, this ranch has been too quiet, too empty. When I saw you standing there alone, I recognized that loneliness." He paused, his voice thick with emotion. "No child deserves to feel unwanted." Emily wrapped her small arms around him without hesitation. And in that embrace, two broken souls found healing. Seasons changed. The fragile orphan girl transformed into a bright, confident child filled with warmth and courage. The ranch flourished under their shared care, and so did their bond. The townsfolk who once doubted Carter's choice began to see the truth, that love was not measured by strength or usefulness, but by compassion. One day, standing before the same auction yard where her story began, Emily watched as another frightened child stood alone, ignored by the crowd. Without hesitation, she tugged Carter's sleeve. "She shouldn't be alone," Emily whispered. Carter smiled, and together, they stepped forward. Sometimes, the world turns away from those who need love the most. Sometimes voices are ignored, tears unseen, and hearts forgotten. But it only takes one person, one act of courage, one moment of compassion, to change a life forever. Emily's story reminds us that we are never truly worthless, never truly alone. Somewhere, someone will see our worth when others cannot. And sometimes, all it takes is a quiet voice saying, "Mine." Heart, if this story touched your heart, don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more powerful, emotional stories of hope, love, and life-changing moments. Your support helps bring more inspiring stories to the world, and you might just find the next story that changes your heart forever.